What's up, YouTube? So things are a bit different today. I've got the mic like right up here in my face. I think all my neighbors around me decided to start construction work today. So if you hear angle grinders and stuff in the background, I'm so sorry about that. But anyway, I'm going to try edit all of it out. So yeah, sorry about that. I need to get this video done because Loopcloud 4 just came out. And I want to show you guys some of the really cool features in the latest version. So yeah, let's dive in and have a look. So for those who haven't checked out my previous video on Loopcloud, I'm going to post a link in the description, and that kind of goes over some of the basics about what the plugin is. But for those who haven't checked it, how it works is you load up like a slave version of the plugin inside your DAW, and that kind of transfers stuff like your tempo and stuff to Loopcloud so that the loops that you're auditioning kind of sync up in tempo and all sorts of stuff like that. But so yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Loopcloud plugin over here in my DAW. And what we're going to do is we're going to just jump into Loopcloud, search for a couple of loops, and I'm going to show you guys some of the really cool features that they've added into the software. So I'm kind of feeling a little bit of a hip-hop vibe today, you know, like an old-school classic hip-hop. And some of the new features in Loopcloud are really kind of geared towards sampling and chopping and all sorts of stuff like that. You know, some of the key like aspects of some of that like old-school classic hip-hop sound. So I figured, you know, this would be a great opportunity to scratch that little hip-hop itch that I've had for the last few days, but also to show you guys some of the really cool features here. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a couple of these packs and find a couple of samples that I'm going to use. And then we're going to dive into, you know, editing and some of the other features in Loopcloud. Oh, my word. It's angle grinders, dogs. It's just the world doesn't want this video to be made right now. So I think what might be cool is like a sort of soulful keys or some sort of pad sound that we can kind of chop up and edit and create a sort of more rhythmical groove with. So I'm going to go ahead and try find something that suits that sort of style. And the cool thing about Loopcloud is not only can you search within the genres, but you can search like labels of different instruments and all sorts of stuff like that. Let's say, for example, we're looking for like a sort of atmospheric type of thing. We can narrow it down to, you know, samples that suit, you know, hip hop style and samples that are atmospheric in nature. And you've got various other sort of parameters and stuff that you can use to kind of narrow down the search, which is pretty cool. You don't have to buy like the entire packs of you know, say for example, you just want like one or two sounds in a certain style. You don't have to buy the entire pack, so that's pretty cool. Cool, that's a really nice pad sound, and it's like the sort of chill vibe that I'm going for. So here in the actual Loopcloud window, you've got various controls. They've added these kind of more advanced editing and resampling controls. You can create patterns using this sample before having to buy the sample, so you can kind of audition whether it sounds like the type of edits and cuts that you're going for before actually investing in buying the stuff. You can listen to what it sounds like at different pitches and keys, and you can even get it to auto pitch to a certain key. So let's say, for example, we're writing a song in D, and click auto and then D over here, and then every time we audition a sample, it's going to automatically pitch it to D. But for now, I'm just kind of finding sound, so we don't really need that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click buy over here. I think this would be cool as like a kind of bed ambient kind of sound for the track. I don't want to do too much editing on this one. So we can just go ahead and drag this. See here it says original and processed. In Loopcloud 3, you had like one button that kind of dragged whether you wanted it kind of pitched or original. So here, obviously, you've got the ability to kind of chop and edit and do all sorts of like crazy resampling. But like I said, for this sound, we just want the original to use as kind of like a pad. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this. Once we've purchased it, we now have the WAV file that doesn't have that kind of ambient noise in the background. So we can drag this into our DAW, and now we've got a pad to start working with. So at the moment, I'm not kind of sure what keys and or what tempo I'm going to be working with. So let's dive back into Loopcloud. Start looking for some other samples. So, you know what might be cool here is a kind of like keyboard type of sound that we can actually use more in a rhythmical sense, you know, to actually chop it up and that kind of stuff. So let's jump in and listen to some of the samples in the library. Okay, that's not keys, that's slap bass, but that sounds freaking cool. I'm gonna buy that file. So here we can, apply some of these like edit functions to chop up this sound and, rearrange it and all sorts of stuff to maybe suit like a different sort of style or create a variation and stuff like that. What we can also do is you can shift to, fit onto a beat if it's not like perfectly quantized or something like that. So you can apply all sorts of edits here. You can shift it backwards and forwards. The actual, the audio inside the sample itself. You can mute certain sections. What I want to do is I just want to grab these two main hits and then get a bit of a sort of lick afterwards and create more of a kind of repetitive rhythm. So here you've actually got this loop point. This will kind of like drill down to a specific point that you want to loop to hear like, will it sound good rather than duplicating it over. This is self-explanatory stuff, but it's pretty cool that you've got more sort of DAW-orientated stuff built inside Loopcloud, so you don't necessarily have to buy the stuff before, auditioning it and playing with it to see, is this exactly what you want to achieve that sound you're trying to get or whatever, Awesome. That's very cool. So what we can do here is now I want to grab our sort of edit or the pattern that we've created. So I can drag this process section over here into the DAW. And let's just click OK. So here you'll see it's created us a loop. And it's the sort of pattern or the edit that we created within Loopcloud, not the raw sample. So the timing is a little bit wonky, but that's fine. We can still go in and warp it and stuff like that. But we might want a little bit of kind of like off-kilter rhythm to it. So let's maybe find a drum loop and start experimenting with, maybe editing the drum loop aside this loop and, play with something, try get a little groove going. So let's go back to Loopcloud. Let's go to instruments. Let's untag keyboard and let's find some drums. So I'm going to speed up the process and just find a sort of drum loop rather than sort of sequencing it. But the cool thing about that was we can still, rearrange the timing of the loop and stuff within the program to see, like, is this the sort of sound we want and all that. So what we can do is we can just click over here and that's going to sort all the content via, one-shots and loops and all sorts of stuff like that. We can go and hide this, make this a bit softer, and let's listen to some of these loops. Okay, so what's happened is it's remembered the pattern that we laid out with the previous sample, which is pretty cool. So now you've got the ability to, create a pattern and then jump through a bunch of different samples to hear, find the sound that you want on top of the pattern that you've created, if that makes any sense. So here what we want to do is we actually just want to reset so we can hear the drum beat as it's supposed to be. And okay, cool, let's go and audition some of these. Awesome, that works. I really dig that beat, and you can kind of shift it around and create a different rhythm. But now, notice that I haven't even purchased it yet, so I'm kind of still deciding, do I want to go with this one? Maybe another one suits this pattern that we've created. So what we can do now is we can actually, I'm first going to go into the DAW and just warp this, these bass hits, because they're a little bit off, and it's just annoying the ear a little bit too much. So what we can do is we can just create a new chop like that and just move them along to fit onto the quantized section. I think this should be like a little bit before the beat. Awesome, that sounded good. So here, let's go back to Loopcloud, and we can audition a couple of these other drum beats on the same sort of pattern that we did for this drum beat to see maybe there's a different file that suits the style better. We can always come back to this one and then load it and buy it and load it into the DAW if we want to, which is pretty cool. Cool, now let's make our pad fit into the key of that bass line. So the pad is in, it looks like C#. It's really cool that like pretty much all of the samples that have a note in Loopcloud are categorized in the correct keys and stuff like that. That just makes life a little bit easier, you know, when trying to key things alongside other stuff. So if I'm not mistaken, this is, I mean, it's called the key of F, so this bass line must be an F. So for C# to become an F, we need to transpose it by 4, I believe. So we can just shift this sample up by 4. And let's create a bit of a breaks here at the end of the bar. Let's see how this sounds. Awesome, that's starting to sound good. I think it could do with like one or two more melodic elements, maybe like a string pad or something like that. So what we can do is, now that we've got like the tempo and the key, everything's starting to kind of take shape, we can jump back into Loopcloud and we can set this auto tempo to F. And yeah, our BPM is 80. Cool. So now let's go ahead and audition a bunch of sounds that are going to automatically be shifted to the correct key. So we can much easier find something that's going to fit before purchasing it. Damn, it's like that string was like made for this track. Bye file. Give it to me now. So, okay, cool. Let's drag this processed over here. So I don't know if you guys followed what I did there. There was just that kind of like one little stab in that riff, which I really enjoyed. That dun dun. So I just muted the other sections and looped it. And this is cool because, you know, you can listen to things in context, you know, before going ahead and buying it. And I think that's massive. That's really, really cool. Anyway. I think that like high end of that bass is a bit bitey, so I'm going to apply some EQ and try find that like resonant kind of tone and use this to kind of notch that out. Awesome, that's great. Bear in mind, it still needs like some processing, EQing, reverb, a bit of a mix and stuff like that. I'm kind of just concentrating on the real basics of sampling, resampling, and editing, and some of the other features inside the latest version of Loopcloud. So awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I'm going to be posting a link to where you can grab Loopcloud in the description. It's free. Obviously, you got to buy like the samples and stuff. But one of the really cool things that they do offer is like they do these kind of like free weekly inspiration packs, which are pretty cool. You can just like log on, grab all the samples, and you don't actually have to pay for them. A big thanks to IDM Mag, proud supporters of the dance music scene and my channel. Yeah, anyway, check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.